Convenient. Doctor's Hospital. Peace of mind is important when life happens. Doctor's Hospital. Always there for you. Call 949-6066.
This is For the Record with Orrett Connor.
Coming to you live from Radio Canaan Studio.
For the record.
For the record. For the record. Hear from your government officials, independents, and the opposition on issues that matter to you. For the record. Engage in an open dialogue between residents and lawmakers.
For the record.
For the record. For the record. Informative, impartial, insightful.
This is your talk show.
1-800-534-8255. Your calls, your input. This is For the Record. And now, your host, Orrett Connor.
Good morning, good morning, good morning, O land of soft, fresh breezes and verdant trees, so fair. Today is Monday, the 27th day of February 2022, right here in the beautiful Cayman Islands. We hope and we trust that everyone had a restful, peaceful, enjoyable weekend. Those of you who are on the roads of the Cayman Islands, and the roads of the Cayman Islands will probably be extremely busy this morning because school is back after the break. So it is likely to be busier out there. So we want you and urge you to continue to exercise caution on our roads, whether you're a pedestrian or a cyclist, or if you're operating any type of motorized vehicle. Ensure that you observe the rules of the road. Drive at the correct speed, the optimal speed, to suit the conditions under which you're driving. And of course, you don't want to exceed the speed limit as well. Do not tailgate. Do not be right up behind other drivers. I see some drivers out there look like they're trying to be the next Mario Andretti or the next Lewis Hamilton out there. No, the roads are not for that. So you want to ensure that you exercise caution, drive defensively. Remember, the life you save may just be your own. For those of you who are celebrating a birthday today, we want to wish you a happy birthday. Or if you've celebrated one over the past few days, belated happy birthday to you as well. And we have several birthday shout-outs that we will be giving this morning as well. And to remind you that this segment of the For the Record birthday shout-outs proudly brought to you by life insurance agent Michael Webster from Cayman Insurance Center, whose advice to you is don't take chances with your family's future. So we want to thank Mr. Michael Webster for his sponsorship and the Cayman Insurance Center as well. So what we do have this morning, the recent birthdays, we're going to do those first. So yesterday we had Nikki Foster Carter, who celebrated a birthday. Janice Brown celebrated a birthday yesterday. Valda Scott celebrated a birthday yesterday as well, and Mr. Raymond Gale. And we have a very, very special person who's celebrating her birthday today, and that's Miss Deborah Ebanks. Sorry. Some of you may know her as Debbie. Some of you may know her as, just call her Debs as well. One of the most beautiful persons in the world, inside and outside as well. Genuine, extremely, extremely genuine. She is involved with, is it the Lions Club of Tropical Gardens? I'm not sure which one, but she's, she's involved in the Lions as well. And Debbie is celebrating a birthday today, so we want to wish her all that is good, and may she live to see many, many more as well. So for all of you, well, if you're a friend of Debbie's, you're supposed to know that it is her birthday today. But we know, we're all getting up there in age a little bit now, so sometimes we may forget, we may miss out on that. So remember to give Miss Debbie a big shout out today. I'm not sure whether or not her employers are giving her the day off, but if you're not, then you should have a big party, either lunchtime or after work, and celebrate Miss Debbie's birthday as well. So Debs, happy birthday, happy birthday to you today. I've skipped my opening comments, but we're going to do so now. So, folks, I want to thank you for allowing Radio Cayman, and by extension, For the Record, into your homes, into your vehicles, as you traverse the busy roads of the Cayman Islands, into your places of work. As you know, For the Record is a show produced by the staff and management of Radio Cayman, and it is geared towards keeping you abreast of issues as they arise and play out on the local, regional, and international scene. I am your host, Orrett Connor, and you're welcome to join me every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from 7:30 a.m. until 10 a.m. During that period, our phone lines are open. Again, this morning, the beautiful radio voice of Miss Susan Watson waiting to take your calls. You can call us on our toll-free number provided courtesy of Flo. That toll-free number, 1-800-534-8255. You can also call us on 949-8037 and 949-6990. Email us at fortherecord, one word, fortherecord at candw.ky. WhatsApp us 925-3261, where you can send us a text message or leave us a voice note, the contents of which will be played during the course of the show. You can follow us on YouTube. You do that simply by subscribing to Radio Cayman live stream, and we are on Facebook as well. So we have another birthday greeting to go out this morning as well. It says, happy 60th birthday to my wife, Charlene Barnes. Happy 54th birthday to our friend Kurt Babagallo. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Kurt Babagallo, who is visiting from New Jersey as well. They are both celebrating their birthdays today. And again, Miss Charlene Barnes and Kurt, those birthday greetings are coming to you from Mr. Bryan Barnes. And he has also advised me that Miss Debbie Ebanks, she's with the Lions Club of Grand Cayman. Again, performing her civic duties, and she has done that for quite a long time as well. She's also been involved in the electoral process, working as a presiding officer, I believe. May also have been, I'm not sure whether or not she was ever a returning officer, but the point is to show, her civic involvement in the Cayman Islands, because she does love her country. Of course, she loves her district of, West Bay as well, but Debbie does love her Cayman Islands. So again, bigging up Miss Deb, because we have to continue to do that. We have to continue to big up our own. We have to continue to acknowledge those persons who put service before self. And Miss Debbie, she epitomizes that as well. Laurel Watler, celebrating a birthday. Want to wish her a happy birthday. Miss Laurel, 99 years of age today, and that's coming from Miss Pat Forbes. Patricia Forbes, former immigration officer, and Miss Pat, she's a lover of plants and everything else. Extremely popular person when she was at the immigration department as well. I'm going to share a little tidbit with you this morning before I introduce my guest, and just to say that the first female person to serve as Speaker in the House of Commons. She passed away, and I'm going to give you some additional information on her if time allows, but she passed away at the age of 90 plus. So I'll give you that information. But what I'm going to do now is we do have our guest in the studio, and this is a continuation of Friday's discussion. It is my pleasure to have in the studio with me none other than the Honorable Kenneth Bryan, Minister for Tourism and Transport, and I'm going to introduce him before we go to our first commercial break. Minister, good morning. Welcome back to For the Record. And I'll tell everyone you didn't sleep in the studio. You went for the weekend, and then you came back into the studio this morning. Welcome, Minister.
Thank you so much, OC, and thank you so much for those who are listening this morning. I would like to ask you to take an opportunity to let everybody know that I'm on the radio this morning, everybody that you may be speaking to, anybody on social media. I want some interaction this morning from you.
Yes.
Today is about a day of listening. For me, particularly as your representative, and this is not only for Georgetown Central, this is for the Cayman Islands. I'm your voice, and I'm going to do everything I can to be stronger and better at that. Today, I want to focus mainly on two areas, though. Traffic solutions. As you know, I'm the Minister for Tourism and Transport, though I only have responsibility for the bus system, and transport has to do with, our traffic solution has to do with various areas, but I want to dive deep into that because this government is getting down to some key decisions in the next 6 months that will make some differences in respect to traffic and the solutions moving forward. The second part is, many of you may know, we talked about food security and the concern that is looming us in the next 10 years, which is the ability to import goods at the growth rate that we're at, with a recent report suggesting that we need to either expand the port downtown or find another location across the island to create a new one that will allow us to be able to expand further as we grow over the next 100 years. I want to expand that just a little bit because there is another port in Cayman Brac that is currently being considered. I think that is being done by Mr. Frank Schillen. I've said on the floor of the House already that I think it would be a great opportunity for Cayman Brac and its growth. Cayman Brac, unfortunately, has been seen as really slow. There's not much activity going on in Cayman Brac. The opportunity for young Cayman Brackers is that they have to come to Grand Cayman to get a job. I, as most of you know, I'm half Cayman Brac. My mother is from Spot Bay, which I'm very proud of that. And I embrace the Cayman Brac side of me, though I am a Georgetowner, born in Georgetown. My father is a Macfield, so I'm a Georgetowner more than a Cayman Bracker, but the Cayman Brac blood runs in me very deeply. And I have major concerns with Cayman Brac, so I would like any Cayman Brackers who are listening to let's talk about Cayman Brac and what is going to happen, because from a tourism perspective, Cayman Brac presents the best opportunities for growth and opportunity for Caymanians, particularly from a tourism perspective. A number of outside industries want to step into Cayman Brac, but in Cayman Brac they don't really want to do very much because they like to keep things the way they are. But keeping things the way they are without much growth means stagnation and lack of opportunity for the people. So I want to talk about those three areas. Please, please, please be ready to talk about those specific areas today so I can get some feedback from everyone.
Okay, we're going to take a commercial break. When we return, we'll start out with the Brac. One of the things that I want to mention there is that how do we go about ensuring that when businesses move to the Brac, that those jobs that are available, that the Brackers have the first choice with them, because based on our immigration law, there's nothing that prevents a company who has a work permit for someone in Grand Cayman to basically, if they have a business over in the Brac, to move over there to go over there and work. And I've seen it in many instances. There's one prominent situation now that some of the brackers are complaining about with their air handling, airline handling, as well. So, we'll need to focus on that area.
Exactly
to do that between 10.
about.
Okay, so folks, we're going to take our first commercial break. Please stay tuned for the record. We'll be back shortly.
The Cayman Islands boasts of a long, colorful, and rich history. In tribute to our roots, Radio Cayman, the voice of the Cayman Islands, is pleased to bring you the Historical Vignette Series, brought to you by Rotary Central. For more than 110 years, Rotary members have used their passion, energy, and intelligence to take action on sustainable projects. The Cayman Islands, He hath founded it upon the seas.
In 1773, George Gall spent 10 days in and around Grand Cayman, creating the hydrographic survey of Grand Cayman based on the first survey made by the Royal Navy and what is now well known as the Gall Map. For 17 years, from 1764 to 1781, George Gall, a Scots surveyor, charted the waters of the Gulf Coast off British West Florida. Along with approximating the population at around 450 persons, Gall made several other observations, including that the inhabitants may truly be said to live in a state of nature. The women are numerous, and those who are natives of the island have a modesty in their looks and a decency in their behavior, not always to be met with between in the tropics. George Gall was elected to the American Philosophical Society in 1774, and his surveyor's tools and his map appear on the stamp of the Cayman Islands issued in 1989.
Radio Cayman's Historical Vignettes was brought to you by Rotary Central. For more than 110 years, Rotary members have used their passion, energy, and intelligence to take action on sustainable projects.
It's all about humanity.
It will be Saturday, March 4th, the 11th annual Rotary Central Health Check, the almost island-wide Rotary Health Screening. See us at Foster's Republic's West Bay, cost you less at Governors Square, West Bay Road, A.L. Thompson's Georgetown, Foster's at Countryside in Savannah, Bordentown, from 10 a.m. through 2 p.m. Take advantage of a free mini-medical, a physician's check on your blood pressure, your A1C, your cholesterol, your blood sugar, your healthy weight evaluation, and more. The 11th Annual Rotary Central Health Check in conjunction with the Health Services Authority. Saturday, March 4. Save this date that could save your life. Rotary, all the good you imagine.
Are you feeling sick, but don't feel ill enough to go to the doctor? Ask your pharmacist for advice. Here at West Bay Pharmacy, our pharmacists have been trained to offer helpful, easy-to-understand advice on the treatment of everyday minor ailments for yourself and all the family. Anything from headaches, cough and sore throat, to cold sores, our pharmacists will know when medical help is needed and will not hesitate to refer you to your doctor if your symptoms demand it. Like doctors, our pharmacists have a professional code, which means all personal information you give them will be treated in the strictest confidence. Visit us today at West Bay Pharmacy, where we care about your health.
Did you know that you can send money transfers to financial institutions anywhere in Jamaica with JN Money?
You mean I can send money straight to my account and cut out the middleman?
Yes, that's exactly what I mean. You send your own money to your own account, giving you peace of mind that the money is in your account.
JN Money Transfers to Financial Institution is another convenient service offered by JN Money. You can have this done from any JN Money location. Deposit your money straight to your account without the hassle of asking someone to do it for you. JN Money Transfers to Financial Institutions, making life easier.
At Doctors Hospital, we know life happens, and usually when you least expect it. So when unexpected medical issues arise, you need quality care close to home. Located in the heart of Georgetown, our accomplished team of physicians and medical staff treat minor urgent conditions such as migraines, chest and abdominal pain, shortness of breath, burns, broken bones, open wounds, and more. 24 hours, 7 days a week with no appointment necessary. Peace of mind is important when life happens. At Doctors Hospital, we're always here just for you. Need to speak to someone? Call 949-6066.
They say you only live once. I say you only die once, but you live every day. I'm Michael Webster from Cayman Insurance Center, longtime supporter of Radio Cayman. Live your life, my friends. Happiness is in the journey, not the destination. When you're ready, I'm here to support you with the best financial decisions for your family's future. Cayman Insurance Center, protecting you and your family so you can take back your future. I'm Michael Webster, the sure way to protect your family. Call me when you're ready at 925-5433. Don't take chances with your family's future or your valuable assets.
Think life insurance.
Upgrade your summer travel plans with non-stop flights from Grand Cayman to Panama. Panama airfares are now on sale from just $296 CI round trip. In just 2 hours aboard Cayman Airways, you can be in a land where the Caribbean meets the Pacific, where you'll find modern cities, rainforests, and so much more. Book by March 4th to catch Panama airfares on sale. Other conditions apply. Call 949-2311 or visit CaymanAirways.com to book your Panama getaway today.
System 1 loaded.
1-800-534-8255. What is on your mind when it comes to the government, independence, and the opposition? Issues that matter to you. 1-800-534-8255. Waiting to hear from you. For the record.
This is For the Record with Orrett Connor.
Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. In the studio with me, the Honorable Kenneth Bryan, Minister with constitutional responsibility for tourism and transport. I want to thank the Minister for coming back in again this morning, this continuation of the discussion. We know that you out there, the public, want more interaction between yourselves and your members of Parliament. And again, Minister Bryan has taken the lead in that as well. So, Minister, we have about 6 minutes before we go to our 8 o'clock news. The BRAC, we know that they have their own board over there that deals with applications for work permits in the BRAC, but there still seems to be some confusion because there is that ability for companies that are physically located in Grand Cayman, but may also have a presence in the BRAC and extending their work over there to apply for work permits here, and indicating that those persons are going to be employed over in the BRAC. And one wonders then whether or not those persons, those BRACers are given the opportunity then to apply for those jobs and to work there. And how do we address that situation, if you're aware of it?
Well, I am not fully versed in respect to the inner details of that, but the principles of it should be that one, the Cayman BRAC has to have the opportunity to protect the workforce over there. Otherwise, we can have a situation where the Cayman BRAC community never get a chance for any jobs, because we have more work permits in Cayman than the population of the whole of Cayman BRAC. So we got to be very mindful of that. But I find it weird because Cayman BRAC has particular protections within, say, for instance, the Development Board. They don't have the same planning board as we do over here in Grand Cayman, and therefore they can dictate, what kind of development and where it goes and over there. So I don't see why they should have any difference in respect to the work permit regime. It is something, it's food for thought, where I have to examine with my colleague, the Honorable Deputy Premier, as to is there enough necessary protections for Cayman BRAC. I must say that I'm concerned as the Minister for Airports Authority when I recently heard a very good Caymanian company, the Flowers Group, who does the security. Cayman BRAC never had any outside security at all at the airport. And then I heard, obviously I don't micromanage, I'm not allowed to. I'm the Minister for Airports Authority, but there's a board, and then the board is in charge of the CEO, and the CEO is in charge of the operations of Cayman BRAC, Grand Cayman, and Little Cayman. And I heard that the Flowers Group was over there doing the security work, and I was quite disturbed by that, because that's when that's the first nick in the paint, and then you start to see that come and happen all over Cayman BRAC. And I called up my team and said, what's the story here? And I was told that they couldn't find enough Cayman BRACers to work. And I said, well, I am not happy about this at all. I told the board, I said, I'm not satisfied with that. You can't tell me you can't find enough Cayman brackets there. But obviously the contract was already signed, and I'm not here to undermine the Flowers group. The Flowers family is very important to me.
Yes,
I love them.
yes.
They're
And
good Cayman.
contribute immensely to the Cayman Islands.
Exactly. But in this case, I think it's important that we continue to have working opportunities specific to Cayman Brac. There is that feel that we once had in Grand Cayman at Cayman Brac, where every person who came to Cayman Brac you saw were Cayman Brackers. And I don't want that lost. So I've advised them that I would be very concerned if that contract continues. And I'm sorry, I hope that doesn't sound bad. But I think that the policy should be within the airport, which they've told me that that's what they're trying to do, is to ensure all the working people at the airport are Cayman Brackers. Now, I will, obviously, it's not my decision to make. I'm the policy person, I'm the minister. So I would like to see what the actions are moving forward once that contract is up, because it's already signed, to ensure that they're working very hard to find some Cayman Brackers to fill those spots once that is over. Because if you leave that, what you're going to end up happening is you see what happened at the airport in Grand Cayman. I don't want to talk much more about that, but I get your principle that as we try to grow Cayman Brac and get things moving, how do we ensure that job opportunities are for Cayman Brackers? Right. But the difficult part about that, too, is all the Cayman Brackers that come into Grand Cayman, and the Constitution doesn't specify the difference between Caymanian and Cayman Bracker.
Yes.
Exactly. So, but I mean, at the very least, we have to make sure we don't make the same mistakes in Cayman Brac as we do in Grand Cayman. And I think that's where the resistance is in Cayman Brac in respect to anything, because they don't want to see all the negatives, but they want the positives of what you see with the growth here.
And we do have carve-outs constitutionally for Cayman Brac, which says that they must return 2 members to our parliament as well. So if we can do it at the level of our constitution, we must be able to find some solution to this, at a much lower level when it comes to.
Maybe we need some more amendments to the Constitution. No, I'm dead serious.
Yeah.
Whereby you can say it only Caymanians can work in Cayman Brac. Maybe, I don't know. That's a far fetch. But before you run, I know you got to run off the break. I want to say, please tune
8 o'clock news.
Thank you, Mr. Connor. And studio time now by Foster's is 8 o'clock.
The voice of the Cayman Islands.
89.9 FM in Grand Cayman and 93.9 FM in Cayman Brac and Little Cayman.
Silver wings shining in the sunlight.
Radio Cayman.
What you got for lunch?
I'm having a red lentil penne pasta with Go Veggie dairy-free cheese.
And what's in the bag?
Fresh bellies, dried roasted red pepper snacks.
All I have are cup noodles. Where do you get all this fancy stuff?
It's all from Foster's Camana Bay in the Foster's Fine section, aisle 8.
All this at Foster's?
Yep. With new specialty items each month, you can even visit fosters.ky/finds to discover something new.
Trade ya.
Foster's. Better selection because we care.
The 8 a.m. news is brought to you by ValueMed Pharmacy. Save time and order your prescription refills online at value-medpharmacy.com. VALU-medpharmacy.com.
For today's biggest news.
Radio Cayman, the voice of the Cayman Islands.
With your latest news, I'm April Cummings. Starting this Wednesday, March 1st, confirmation PCR testing for COVID positives will no longer be required, and HSA COVID testing centers will cease operations on all 3 islands. Lateral flow positive online reporting will also no longer be required. Chief Medical Officer Dr. Nick Gent says relatively small numbers of people are now seeking voluntary confirmation PCR tests when they have a COVID-positive LFT, so the service is no longer providing useful epidemiology information. Dr. Nick Gent, though, is still encouraging people in the community to test themselves with an LFT device if they're experiencing COVID-19 symptoms and to adhere to recommended isolation requirements. Cayman Finance CEO Steve McIntosh says, as expected, there was no significant change to the Cayman Islands status announced by the FATF at the conclusion of this week's plenary. But the FATF has, quote, recognized our significant progress as a jurisdiction. Cayman Finance notes the islands are rated as compliant or largely compliant with all 40 of the FATF's technical recommendations and 62 of 63 recommended actions with respect to the effectiveness of its AML-CFT regime. Mr. McIntosh adds, by acknowledging for the first time our progress with respect to prosecutions and convictions, the FATF statement suggests that the money laundering cases currently pending sentencing will in due course allow us to satisfy the final recommended action with respect to money laundering sentencing. The industry lobbying group thanked the Ministry of Financial Services and Commerce for its leadership and acknowledged the hard work of authorities and industry in the progress achieved to date.
We have a problem coming. It's about the ability to import goods and foods for our people. And because of the timeline to do any severe expansions or resolve to the problem, these projects don't happen within 1 year or 2 years. It takes 6 to 10 years to get finished.
Tourism and Transport Minister, the Honourable Kenneth Bryan, on Radio Cayman's For the Record Friday, discussing the importance of addressing port capacity in Georgetown, which a new report says needs to either expand or move to another location as the ships bringing in cargo get larger. Minister Bryan says it is a food security issue. A power outage in East End after a truck hits a utility pole and breakers Sunday. It happened around 2:30 p.m., leaving people from Frank Sound to East End without power as crews worked to restore service. They were able to do that a short time later. No official word on the details of the crash. That's your latest local news. I'm April Cummings. Now to the BBC for stories making headlines around the world.
BBC News with Emily Thomas. The UN chief says Russia's invasion of Ukraine has unleashed a massive wave of human rights violations. Antonio Guterres told the Human Rights Council it had led to widespread death, destruction and displacement, and that the UN had documented hundreds of cases of sexual violence, forced disappearance and arbitrary detention. Palestinians have criticised Israeli security forces for failing to protect them after a Palestinian man was shot dead as Israeli settlers attacked villages in the north of the occupied West Bank. Hundreds were injured as homes, businesses and cars were set on fire during several hours of rioting. The Electoral Commission in Nigeria says the opposition presidential candidate Peter Obi has won the most votes in the vast commercial hub of Lagos. He narrowly beat the former Lagos governor who's running for the governing party. Mr. Obi has emerged as one of the frontrunners, attracting youth and urban votes. China has accused Washington of politicizing the origins of coronavirus after reports that the US Energy Department found the pandemic was likely to have started with a laboratory leak in Wuhan. A media report said the department came to its conclusion with low confidence. Doctors in Iraq are holding a strike in protest at recent attacks and threats against medical staff. Their union called for a nationwide strike in response to the killing of a prominent doctor in Diyala province last week. M23 rebels have seized a key mining town in eastern Congo. Rabaya has large deposits of coltan, which is crucial for the production of laptops and mobile phones. Britain has announced that transgender women who've been convicted of violent offensive will not be placed in women's prisons. 3 people charged with the murder of a well-known Hong Kong model and influencer Abby Choi have been denied bail. That's the latest world news from the BBC.
The 8 a.m. news is brought to you by ValueMed Pharmacy. Save time and order your prescription refills online at value-medpharmacy.com. VALU-medpharmacy.com.
Now, more than ever, supporting your immune system is crucial to helping your body fight off illnesses like the common cold, the flu, and COVID-19. At ValueMed Pharmacy on Walkers Road and in Buttontown, we carry all the essential vitamins and minerals to help support your immune system and improve your overall health. Some of our top immunity support picks are vitamin C, vitamin D, zinc, elderberry, and quercetin, or the popular 7-in-1 immunity support. Our pharmacists are always on hand to help guide you and answer any questions. Visit ValueMed Pharmacy on Walkers Road or Buttontown. Live happy, live healthy with ValueMed Pharmacy.
Stay in touch with Radio Cayman with the latest up-to-date, accurate news and information. For your convenience, the headline news will be repeated on our sister station, Breeze 105.3 FM, weekdays at 8:30 a.m. Follow Radio Cayman on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, or download the Radio Cayman app in the App Store or log on to www.radiocayman.gov.ky and stay connected to what's happening in the community. Radio Cayman, your voice, your choice, your radio.
At Kirk's Home Center, we can make your life much better. We got it all together. We got a great deal in store for you. From cookware to stereos, from power tools to plumbing supplies. Yeah, we got the best goods with the best price and a service to make you smile. At Kirk's Home Center, we got a great deal in store for you.
The 8:12 a.m. weather report brought to you by CG Britcay, where people come first.
Good morning. Studio time now is 8 minutes after 8. Let's take a look at the latest weather report. Current temperature is 78 degrees. Relative humidity is 78%. The barometric pressure is 30.00 inches and rising. The wind is out of the east at 7 knots. Overnight low temperature was 68 degrees. Synopsis indicate mainly fair skies along with moderate easterly winds and seas is expected for the Cayman Islands over the next few days as a high-pressure system continues to dominate the northwestern Caribbean. Now, the forecast for today calling for mainly fair skies with less than a 20% chance of showers, and temperatures will rise to the mid-80s. Winds will be east to southeast 10 to 15 knots. Seas will be slight to moderate with wave heights of 2 to 4 feet. Tonight, mainly fair skies with less than a 20% chance of showers, and temperatures falling to the low 70s tonight. Winds will be east to southeast 5 to 10 knots, and seas will be slight with wave heights of 1 to 3 feet. Low tide will be this afternoon at 5 minutes past 12. High tide also this afternoon at 4:56, and a low tide again tonight at 11:24. The sun will set this evening at 6:29 and will rise tomorrow morning at 6:46. And the outlook is calling for similar weather conditions through Wednesday morning.
Head east on Cove Road. Sharp left on Church Street. Sharper left. No, your other left. Did I say left? No, you missed it. Okay, I'm lost.
With money-saving bundling options for home and motor, we're like a GPS that doesn't steer you wrong. CG Britcay. Good like that.
Let's stop and ask for directions.
The 8:12 a.m. weather report brought to you by CG Britcay, where people come first.
During these unprecedented times, Radio Cayman, the voice of the Cayman Islands, is pleased to bring you the Cayman Strong Series. The Cayman Strong Series is brought to you by Encourse Cayman. Visit encourse.ky to view a full list of wellness services and their qualified team. Encourse Cayman, health, wellness, and happiness.
Change your thinking, change your life. Developing winning habits is a blueprint for living a better life.
As Stephen Covey said in his best-selling book, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, sow a thought, reap an action. Sow an action, reap a habit. Sow a habit, reap a character. Sow a character, reap a destiny.
Change your thinking, change your life.
During these unprecedented times, Radio Cayman, the voice of the Cayman Islands, is pleased to bring you the Cayman Strong Series. The Cayman Strong Series is brought to you by Encourse Cayman. Visit encourse.ky to view a full list of wellness services and their qualified team. Encourse Cayman, health, wellness, and happiness.
These days, feelings of loneliness, anxiety, stress, and depression can be overwhelming. Just know you are not alone. Encourse Cayman offers private mental health services for children, teens, adults, and groups. Visit oncourse.ky to view a full list of wellness services and their qualified team. On Course Cayman. Health, wellness, and happiness.
The traffic report is brought to you by Subway. Planning a meeting, event, or office celebration? Visit subway.ky to place your catering order today.
Good morning once again. Let's take a look at traffic. Busy traffic heading to Georgetown on Cool Road. Eastbound traffic on Cool Road is light to moderate. Ledford Pearson Highway, steady traffic. Some section busy in other sections. Coming off of Agnes Way, steady traffic, as well as off of Bobby Thompson Way. As we look to the West Bay four-way stop, traffic flowing pretty good. Godfrey Nixon Way and Eastern Avenue, traffic is moderate in both directions. Some cruise ships and ports to be aware of that as you maneuver Seafarers Way. Light to moderate traffic flow on Edward Street, and traffic is flowing pretty good on Owen Roberts Drive. And coming off of the Esley Tibbetts Highway, steady traffic and steady but flowing traffic in both directions on Northstown Road, and heading towards the Industrial Park area, traffic is moderate in both directions. That's what's happening on your roads. If you've seen accidents or incidents on Cayman's roads, give us a call here at Radio Cayman, 949-6990. Have a good morning and drive safe.
When you're craving something big, something tasty that gives you that lip-smacking satisfaction, something that hits the spot, there is nothing better than a footlong from Subway.
It's pretty tasty.
Filling and full of flavor. Try our new sweet onion steak teriyaki with a twist. Or the classic chicken teriyaki. Top it with green pepper, onions, cheese, and that sweet onion teriyaki sauce, all piled on your favorite artisanal bread. Satisfy that craving with a footlong from Subway.
Fresh, delicious, tasty, meaty.
Let's make it a meal with a drink, chips, and cookies. There is nothing better than a footlong from Subway.
The traffic report is brought to you by Subway. Planning a meeting, event, or office celebration? Visit subway.ky to place your catering order today.
Tune in every Monday through Friday at 12 p.m. for Radio Cayman's Midday Newscast. Radio Cayman, the People's Station, your trusted official source for the latest news. The 12 p.m. news is proudly brought to you by Health City Cayman Islands. World-class healthcare within your reach.
Radio Cayman News.
Concerns last night's public meeting about the east-west arterial extension.
If there can be a solution found that is less damaging to our central mangrove wetland system.
Several of the roundabouts will be skirting the mangrove.
It has to be more valuable to our country to protect it than to go build a road in there.
I really think for the first meeting it was really good.
Radio Cayman. Your voice, your choice for today's biggest news.
For the record with Orrett Connor.
Initiating system.
For information that matters. For the record with Orrett Connor. Continues right now on Radio Cayman.
Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. Minister Bryan will be back in the studio. Meanwhile, I want to remind you that our phone lines are open. Our toll-free number, 1-800-534-8255. You can also call us on 949-8037, 949-6990. Email us, for the record, at candw.ky. You can WhatsApp us, 925-3261 as well. Before I hand the mic back over to Minister Bryan, just want to, that first female speaker of the British House of Commons, who passed away at the age of 93. Her name was Betty Boothroyd. She became Speaker in 1992 after defeating the Conservative Party's candidate for that post. She was also Deputy Speaker. She was the second female Deputy Speaker. She became Deputy Speaker in 1987. And in reading her obituary and as well as her bio, she seemed to have been a very, very tough speaker who basically was a no-nonsense person as well. So again, first female Speaker of the UK House of Parliament, passed away at the age of 93. So, Minister, back over to you. And I believe on Friday, you did say that there was some low-hanging fruit based on preliminary report that you've had seen. I'm not sure whether or not it was in relation to the traffic.
Yes,
that there was some low-hanging fruits that you could avail yourself to in the meantime as well. So we can talk about those when you get to that topic.
Yeah, I'll be speaking about those in a minute. I have the preliminary reports from Deloitte. It's not completed yet, but obviously as minister who's paying for the report, I'm privy to some of the initial first phases and so forth. So what I'm going to do is actually I did a report on the traffic solutions / plan paper draft from almost a year ago when I became Minister for Tourism and Transport. And I put together what I thought the country needed to do holistically. And I want to read that because I don't see anything changing in it. I was hoping that this report would be done ages ago. It's not. I must say that things that happen in government happen a lot slower than I expected. And I'm not happy about that at all, but I will proceed as much as I can as minister.
Okay,
so,
we do have a caller in the meantime, so let's grab the caller. First caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record. Good morning.
And good morning to the Honorable Minister there.
Good morning, sir.
Yeah, I never get to say last week because what I finished my conversation. You spoke about building the dock and that it was a controversial topic that's been going on now for many years. We've been talking about building dock, and nothing happens, right? Nothing happens. Let me tell you, Mr. Buckler Bush moved every single rock that was in the eastern area to enhance what we call the dock in Georgetown back in the day, because we were tying up against the iron shore. And he built a dock that was very much needed, and he was voted out the following election because of the dock. Right? So forget about what people might. If we need the dock. We can see that. You're talking about expanding the dock. I'm not sure if you can expand it where it is now. I think it had to be moved. But we got to stop talking about this and just do it. We need to do it. It's not going to be popular amongst a lot of people, but like Dr. McField once told me, he said a lot of the people, the massive of the people know what they want, but they don't know what's good for them. So look at what happened to Mr. Buckler Bush because he enhanced the dock, right? But look, we have extended that dock now about 5 times since he built it. You see? And now we're talking about expanding again. So you just need to bite the bullet and build the dock. The road, people are against building the road, the east-west, because of environmental reasons. But those same people are also against putting a cap on importation of cars coming into the country. They don't want a road bill, but they don't want to stop the influx of cars coming into. So there we are again, right? And touching on the BRAC, I too experienced coming out of the BRAC where 7 individuals was at the checkpoint. And none of them had looked like BRACers. I can tell you I know what BRACers like because I have interest in BRAC and Kim and BRAC also. I have a daughter up there with 6 beautiful grandbabies. So I probably have more interest now in the BRAC than you have because I hear you say now that you more stronger than BRAC. I heard that, and I hope you know them BRACers listen too. So, and I will be in the Sport Bay area. My next job is in the Sport Bay area. You know, so if they ask me anything, I'll tell them, yeah, I heard you say it. You said it. Yeah, we need to do something on the BRAC because, seriously, I was surprised. 7 people at the checkpoint, and none of them were BRACers, my friend. We need to do something because I think there's something in the Constitution, right, that says all jobs in Cayman is for Caymanians. As far as I know, that's in the Constitution. So it's not like we like to run off about, that's not humane and then human rights going to step in. But then we need to make amendments to our Constitution where, like Australia.
If caller or my friend Graham, I'll ask if you allow me to intersect, right? We don't need no more changes to our laws. We just need to be strong enough to enforce them. And our leaders need to be willing to make the hard decisions and don't be afraid to protect our people. I'm getting to a stage now. I've been minister almost 2 years now, and there are some decisions we can make that we can't be afraid to be upsetting some. The road is one of them that I'm concerned about, and it just takes leaders to lead in order to get these things done, and hence the reason my importance to come back to talk to my people, because I'm not satisfied. I am not satisfied. We could do a lot more. We can stop taking no for an answer, and I want to see more yesing happen going on. So I hear your points, and I want to respond to the things you've said, but I really do want to get into this report. And I would ask you if you allow me to read this, because I know you're going to have more comments after I've said what I said, and you can call back in. Is that okay?
Well, I just want to go off by saying I'm getting to feel like you're setting yourself up for leadership. Is that the case?
No, not at all. I just
thrown that out there.
No, I definitely not setting myself up for leadership at all.
Leadership for tourism and transport, which is responsible for.
Correct.
Well, the way you're talking, right? It seems like you're calling for people that will just do what have to be done and stop kicking the can down the road. That's what we need. We need leaders that are going to do it, regardless. Okay? Stop thinking about the next election coming up. Let's do what we have to do, what have to be done. So it's only setting yourself up.
No, I'm not. And I'll say what I mean by that is that we promised a lot more communication with the people. We said that we were going to be transparent, and we're not talking to the people enough. We're not having enough press conferences. We're not on the radio often enough, and I'm not afraid to say that I'm an independent elected member of this PAC government. And I'm fine with being held accountable for my comments this morning, but we need to do more, and that's as simple as that.
We don't need much more talking, We don't need much more talk. We need some action.
Yeah,
I don't need much more press conference and all that kind of stuff.
Well, we need. True, I agree with that. You want to see decisions, but we have to make decisions with the input of the people. Hence the reason why you saw my sign up in my constituency. I like to get feedback because that's where many other governments have failed in respect to making decisions. Once your people are on board with you, you ain't going to lose the election, because I have no intention of losing the next election. Hence the reason I'm going to respond to you in respect about the port. I would say this to you, right? You suggested that we should stop talking about it and just do it. I hear what your point is in respect to the port, because it's a big decision, but that's not how leaders lead. You have to be persuasive enough. You have to be charismatic enough to embrace your people, to convince your people that your idea or your solution is one that is in their best interest. If you fail in that attempt and you cannot convince them and they're still saying, no, I don't want that, your obligation is to not move forward with it. Now, that's how I would lead. So as though you may say Mr. Berkeley Bush did it and he or maybe didn't, think about what the people felt, just did it because he knew it was the right thing to do. That's one way to look at it, but then he lost the seat the next election. I don't have no intentions of losing my seat. I think that it's about my ability to communicate with the people and show the pros and cons of a situation and be persuasive enough to allow them to let's go on this journey together for the betterment of our country. And that's why I'm stepping out first from early to talk about the port situation and about the looming problem in 10 years, because this is going to be a problem. And I want to be a minister to say, listen, we're on this journey together. I'm your representative. I'm your voice. Now, here's the facts. Here's the information. Do you want this choice? I think it's a good choice for you, whatever that choice may be. And here's the reasons why. If after that journey and that transaction of information and details, the people still feel that they don't want it and they want 10 years from now we're not going to be able to grow any further, then that's the people's choice. That's what representation is about. So though Mr. Berkeley may have bitten the bullet, so to speak, for the public, representation today, in today's day and age, is about communication, feedback, and information. It's not like back in the day where you barely got access to legislation, policy. The information at the fingertips of the voter today, so we can give them that information so they can help inform us what decisions they want. And sometimes they come to conclusions that are not in the best interest of themselves because they don't have all the information. But it's our job as legislators and representatives to give them all the details, right? You don't want to overwhelm them, but give them enough information that they can help give you the feedback you need.
Minister, Minister.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, you'll get the opinion of the community but at large, and then you all still go and hire some consultant to pay them thousands and thousands of dollars for their opinion or for their study that just sits on the shelf until the next government come in and do the same thing. That's what I'm talking about. We all know what has to be done. We don't need no consultant. We live here, we grow here, we listen to our road. We know everything about Cayman. Let's do it. If it have to be done, let's do it.
Caller,
we don't need.
Sorry, go right ahead. I'm gonna let you finish up.
We don't need no consultant again. How many consultants we going to pay to get the same, mostly the same results, same opinion? Because there's not too many ways, too many places we can put the dog. No, I know that for sure.
Okay, so, caller.
Well,
thank you very much for that. We have to go to commercial break now. We're going to plan a little program here, Minister. We have 2 callers on hold still. So what I suggest is we take those 2 callers when we return from the commercial break, and then we briefly shut off the phone line so that you can
because I'll never get this
so that you can share that report with our listening audience, and then we resume the conversations after. So the 2 callers that are on hold, please hang in there. As soon as we return from the commercial break, we will take your calls. Please stay tuned. For the record, we'll be back shortly.
She hear clunk and our car stop. I was just about to send her some money, so I send it straight to her JN money transfer card. It cost me less, and perhaps she use the card, pay the garage right away. She'll get discount through the JN Rewards program in Jamaica. This card make things easy. You can even get funds at any multi-link ATM.
JN Money Transfer Card. Fast, affordable, convenient. Tell your loved ones in Jamaica about it. Sign up is free.
What's that? No sugar, same amazing taste? Coca-Cola Zero Sugar is here to stay.
No one can stop me when I taste the feel.
Classic taste, pure satisfaction. Be sure to stop into any Tortuga location and get your own case of Coke Zero. Or grab an ice cold one straight from the cooler. Brought to you by Tortuga Distributors Limited. Coca-Cola, taste the feeling, Cayman.
Radio Cayman, maintaining the innovation.
On a daily basis, making it easy to connect with you, our listeners. Add us to WhatsApp today, 925-3261. That's 925-3261.
Radio Cayman.
Send a text or voice note.
Can I send a request, please?
You don't really have to ask us. Just send a request.
This is a shout out to my ex.
Radio Cayman, the voice of the Cayman Islands.
Radio Cayman, maintaining the innovation. System 1 loaded.
1-800-534-8255. What is on your mind when it comes to the government, independence, and the opposition? Issues that matter to you. 1-800-534-8255. Waiting to hear from you. For the record.
This is For the Record with Orrett Connor.
Good morning. Welcome back to For the Record. In the studio with me, Honorable Kenneth Bryan, Minister with Constitutional Responsibility for Tourism and Transport. Before we go to our callers, Mr. Berkeley Solomon celebrating his birthday today, wishing a happy birthday. Greetings going out to Mr. Berkeley Solomon as well. Caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record. Good morning, caller. Welcome to For the Record.
Hello.
Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning to the Transport Minister.
Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning, Mr. Bryan. I'm calling regarding the flights that goes to Montego Bay.
Mm-hmm.
When we
excuse me, caller. We're hearing feedback in the background. There's a radio on or something. If you could turn that down, please.
See, my employer wants to hear.
Okay, let's try it and see what happens.
Let me just turn it down a little for you, please.
Thank
just
you. Thank you. Wow.
Okay, I'm sorry about that.
That's okay, no problem.
Good morning to Mr. Ossie, I should say that.
No problem. Good morning, ma'am.
Okay. About the flights going into Jamaica and going straight into Kingston.
Mm-hmm.
You have a large amount of people, including myself, that goes to Montego Bay and into the country area. But when we travel to Kingston and to get back to Montego Bay, St. Elizabeth, Westmoreland, Trelawney, it's very, very difficult. And you have a large amount of people that travels to those in the country area, like Montego Bay, St. Elizabeth, Westmoreland, Trelawney, St. Anne's. You know, and I heard that I heard it on the radio that flight's going to Panama. I think the flight that goes to Montego Bay, that's a big amount of people have to be, thinking about how they're going to reach back to the country area. So I would really appreciate, Mr. Bryan, if you would address that situation.
Okay. Thank you, caller.
Thank you so much, caller. Quickly, just to respond, the decision as to a reduction or any increases to flights to Jamaica has to be done in a proper analysis as to profitability and feasibility based on the complement of planes that we have. The Cayman Airways CEO and the board obviously analyze and makes the decisions on what's in the best interest of the company. I know it's difficult because we've had more flights into Montego Bay recently, but we get most of the traffic into Kingston. We also have to juggle the importance of what the purpose of Cayman Airways was in the first place, which is to continue connectivity locally, domestically, and then for strategic purposes to increase our tourism product. We only have 4 jets. I wish we had more, but that's we have the newest fleet of jets in the Caribbean, and it is important that we continue to expand our options and diversify our tourism gateways, because that's the main purpose of having so many jets. Now, I know it may be a little bit inconvenienced for the reduction of flights into Montego Bay, but what we don't know, and I'm going to ask the CEO, Fabian Worms, to come on the show sometime this week or next week to explain why they've made the decisions they have, because I don't know it intimately. I'm the minister, I send the policy down, and then the directors on the board and the CEO figure out what they're doing with respect to their schedules. But I'm certain there's an answer to that. Sometimes there's not as much traffic going into Montego Bay that justifies a full flight. You may say, for instance, 50% going into Montego Bay compared to 50% going into Los Angeles. You say, well, Los Angeles only has 60%, but Los Angeles is bringing money in by way of spend. Most people who travel to Jamaica are not traveling on a tourism perspective. They're traveling on a work permit going back and forth for their own convenience, which we respect and we appreciate those persons, particularly those who have become Caymanian, going back home and checking on their loved ones and so forth. But it depends on the return of investment that we look at while we make the decisions. Now,
so you have to balance, customer satisfaction and, the accessibility to customs. You have to balance that with your profitability.
Now, I'm assuming these things because I know the board and the CEO do their best in balancing the fleet that they do have. But for example, we have a large contingent of people from Honduras. We don't do Saiba and Rotan. We're only doing Saiba now. And there's the same question about why you're not flying into Rotan anymore. We just don't have enough flights, and it costs money. The airline business is the most expensive business in the world. Matter of fact, we subsidize our airlines so we can have the standard that we do have, but we do have to do a juggling act and carry out the government's policy by increasing the opportunity by way of economic development through tourism. So I'll ask them to explain why. I know that there's discussions about seasonality, particularly in Montego Bay around Christmas time and summertime. So persons who are in Cayman Islands can go visit their loved ones, or the loved ones can come visit us. But to have a full-time flight, I'm not sure why they have made that reduction in Jamaica for Montego Bay, but we have to make sure we utilize our jets the best way we can. With that being said,
have one more caller. Let's grab the next caller. Caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Yes, good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning, Doc.
Yeah, I was very interested in the whole contribution which Mr. Rankin made there, because I wonder sometimes when we're talking about consultants whether or not we're taking into consideration common sense and experiences. We on this island know for a very long time that the Georgetown area is crowded. We see the traffic. We see the numbers of buildings. We see the overdevelopment in the area and the underdevelopment in other areas of the Cayman Islands. It does not take a rocket scientist to see that there is something that is wrong with putting all the development in one area.
Agreed.
A situation that roads will not cure. So we have to diversify development, and the largest part of the area in terms of width is basically the eastern area.
Agreed, sir.
So why would one have to be consulted to know that the Georgetown port is a horrible place to put the extension of the harbor? Because, I mean, Mr. Bryan, as I call you Kenneth, I guess you don't mind that, right?
No problem, Doc.
Okay, then look at it this way. Seriously, just look at it this way. All the land out this way, and I'm just coming back from Botanic Park, all the land out this way. And I don't know about weather conditions. I mean, maybe consultants isn't unnecessary for that. But from the point of view of land and the whole idea of getting people to move in this direction and not all crowded in one area.
Correct.
Because when you put industry in an area, it attracts residents. We were talking about that a long time ago about government administrated buildings. Why is the government concentrated in one area?
Agreed. You're reading my report, actually. I see you're currently reading my report. I was just about to read that, but I want to take these calls. Doc, I'll tell you what. I want to engage with you. I'm going to read this report, and then you tell me if my report is on track, because everything you're saying is pretty much what I have in it, because you are right in all those aspects. Everything you said so far is 100% correct. But there seems to be a movement, and I hate to use this, but there seems to be some ulterior motive with the disguise of the environment to undermine the opportunities and the proper growth. I wouldn't say growth per se, but proper opportunities by solving some of these problems for our people, where it's land accessibility, reduction of traffic, and long-term planning. That maybe some people just want it to stay the same, because when things stay the same, those who have opportunities and have the money stick with the money. When you start to move things around and then opportunities start to pop up for persons who don't have to get, then it changes the game. So I don't know, but I ask you to let me read this, and then you call back in, because I'd love your feedback on what I'm about to say.
I will do that, and I'll just before I go off, I'll let you tell you a word. Centricity is a very important word. It's about focus. That's why you have caucus. That's why we have government. That's why we have church. Because you have to get your people to focus and not everybody in different directions. I listened to the report. It's crazy that we're even discussing this again, because I think that the common sense dictated a long time ago where this dock is supposed to go.
Okay. Doc, thank you. Thank you very much. Minister, what we're going to do so that we don't have to interrupt for, in 2 minutes for a commercial break, take the early commercial break. When we return, we can go then until the top of the hour, 9 o'clock, for headline news with your report. Folks, please stay tuned for the record. We'll be back shortly.
What's that? No sugar, same amazing taste? Coca-Cola Zero Sugar is here to stay. Classic taste, pure satisfaction. Be sure to stop into any Tortuga location and get your own case of Coke Zero. Or grab an ice-cold one straight from the cooler. Brought to you by Tortuga Distributors Limited. Coca-Cola, taste the feeling, K-Man.
At Doctors Hospital, we know life happens, and usually when you least expect it. So when unexpected medical issues arise, you need quality care close to home. Located in the heart of Georgetown, our accomplished team of physicians and medical staff treat minor urgent conditions such as migraines, chest and abdominal pain, shortness of breath, burns, broken bones, open wounds, and more. 24 hours, 7 days a week with no appointment necessary. Peace of mind is important when life happens. At Doctors Hospital, we're always here just for you. Need to speak to someone? Call 949-6066.
For the record with Orrett Connor.
Initiating system.
For information that matters. For the record with Orrett Connor. Continues right now on Radio Cayman.
Good morning. Welcome back to For the Record. In the studio with me, the Honorable Kenneth Bryan, Minister with responsibility for tourism and transport, and he's going to share some portions of a report with us. So at this point in time, we're suspending the phone calls until after 9 o'clock when we return from headline news. Minister, over to you.
Thank you so much again, OC. I want to clarify, this is not a report. This is my draft paper as to what I think is the traffic solution / plan for the country in respect to resolving it. I wrote this paper about a year and 4 months ago, right after I became the Minister for Tourism and Transport. And the question about why do we constantly have to do consultants, it wasn't about consultants of what to do, but more so how to do what we want to do. There's a difference, because I'm not a professional, I'm not a technocrat in respect to this, but say, listen, this is the government's policy, this is what we would want to do. Now, how do we go about doing that? So that's what I've been waiting for. But now that we're almost done, I actually have the draft of some of the details in it. And I'm not going to be sharing most of that. I'm going to share my vision from a bigger perspective on the traffic solutions, and then I'll dive deeper into the areas which fall under me, which is the transport unit itself that deals with the buses. Okay. But traffic solution is a bigger thing, right? Mm-hmm. But I want to acknowledge the two callers about consultants, that we keep on going back to consultants when we know common sense approach as Caymanians what need to be done. But that is a very subjective view in most times, because there's so many differing views about that. We usually have a report to give substance to your conclusion or your decision, to say, see, the experts in the industry also agree with your position, so it helps you give confidence moving forward, even though sometimes I do believe that people pick the consultants who they want to say what they want them to say, but that's another story altogether. So I'm going to get into my draft plan that I created about a year and 4 months ago, and then I'm going to go back into further details as to what some of the things of the draft report say about what I was saying from a while back. So this draft paper says that traffic solution / plan paper draft. Mm-hmm. Traffic and transportation way forward. As traffic continues to negatively impact the people of the Cayman Islands, the call for solutions continue to echo across the various platforms. As the Minister for the Transport Unit, I believe the solutions for traffic can be found by improving / amending / implementing in 5 key areas. One, the public transportation system, which is the local buses, which falls solely under my responsibility. 2, road infrastructure. 3, the decentralization of government offices/agencies and independent companies. 4, car importation restrictions and regulations. And 5, driver education. Now, across these 5 areas of focus, the solutions should be categorized in short and long term, or a combination of the two. This is important as it helps us to accept the solutions cannot be solved overnight, but we can surely start the journey of the ending of this plaguing issue called traffic. Further definitions of the key areas. The creation of a PPP, public-private partnership, transportation that offers reliability, efficiency, and safety, moving away from the independent driver/operators of the public bus services. Now, again, that is my personal position, and I'll tell you why later on.
Okay.
That's not an agreed position of the government. This paper was done by me individually. Once a reliable public transportation system is in place, it allows the government to take measures to deter/reduce the number of vehicles on the road. The necessary suggested changes come listed under 4, and that's 4 later on down in my report. Now, it's self-explanatory. Implement a national roads plan is number 2 that includes a comprehensive national bus strategy. The plan must include A, an east-west arterial highway completion, B, solution to the Hurley's bottleneck problem, C, bus stop infrastructures, D, electric charging stations if we want to go to the sustainable approach, which is a very costly exercise, one that I'm not sure if we're in a financial position to deal with, but it all depends on our commitment and our prioritization. The necessary legislation will need changing to allow buses to have more right-of-way on the public roads than private vehicles. This is a model that you can see in the UK, that when the bus drives, you have to move to the side to allow them to pass. Otherwise, if you have everybody using the buses and they're still stuck in traffic, nobody will take it. 3, a long-term decentralization strategy must be created with the intention to move some of the public and private services from the central capital to the eastern areas beyond the Hurley's bottleneck. At the moment, close to 80% of the jobs are located in the capital and on the West Bay Road. Of that 80%, more than 75% of those persons live east of the Hurley's bottleneck. This data is just my assumption based on the facts. It could be a little bit above, a little bit below, but it's around about that much. This is the major cause of major traffic woes in the mornings and in the evenings. The eastern districts already present the necessary infrastructure that will allow many persons from traveling to the west if their jobs were in the east, as you heard Dr. Frank say. For examples, there's already schools, there's already supermarkets, housing developments, hospitals, and I suggest that we do some more relocations as a part of the decentralization process. For example, government services. Why is there not an immigration office above the Prospect area, or public works, or even the port, as you heard us talking about, being more central to the country's growth? Maybe a second government building. Currently, right now, we are leasing more than 1.5 buildings of the size we have are currently leased out in the community. And I think that there was always plans for a second government building. Why are we not considering now, from a long-term perspective, to create another government building to the east? Housing developments. There is many opportunities to reduce the cost of housing for Caymanians if we allow this east-west arterial to happen, because the reason the cost of land is so high is because the available amount of land compared to those who are in demand of land. This east-west arterial is not only about the environment, but it also opens up opportunity, not in the wetlands area, but in the dry areas that they go through, for landowners to create more housing opportunities so Caymanians can actually afford a house. What I must say, and I'm going to take this opportunity to pause here, I am saddened, truly saddened, by what's supposed to be a good movement about protecting the environment being used to try to stop this road. Now, I read a report in Compass the other day suggesting that Ms. Gina Petrie-Ebanks has even suggested that the EIA report is to give the government consideration of how to build a report, how to build a road, or even whether to build it. And I don't recall at any point in time there was even a question about whether we were building it or not. We were going to build the road. There's no two ways around that. This road is going to be built. Now, we are going to consider the environment because we have to. It's our constitutional obligation to do so. But the lives of the people are more important than anything else, particularly the quality of life of our people. So why there was a suggestion by her to say that it will also give us a consideration of if we should do the road. That's not an option. We're going to do the road. How we do the road now is in question, and I respect the EIA from that perspective. I do not like the fact that it's taking so long. If we see that this is a priority, if you need 16 specialists working all at one time, just like how they found the vaccine for COVID, get as many people as you need, because we can't wait for that report to take 10 years for us to relieve the problems that we have. And I don't think we're putting enough priority on it. That's just my personal opinion. Moving on. In respect to public services, I think that we should incentivize businesses like entertainment, parks, sporting facilities, community centers, potentially even a movie theater, more hotel, tourism-related things to be to the east, maybe some banks, insurance companies, private health care, housing developments, as you heard me say. And I think, obviously, these things can be ignited by government policy and initiatives. So whether it's reductions in business licensing fees or duties or what have you, as basically a Go East initiative. Yeah. So this is nothing new, right? We just need to do it. 4, car importation restrictions and regulations. Increase the duties of car imports to get to de-incentivize persons from doing more imports. Once you create a proper bus system, B, limit certain persons from being able to import cars. And now I know that there is questions from a legal perspective whether you can stop a non-Caymanian from importing a car, and I think that we have every right under the law to do so. But yet there seems to be some hesitation to that. If I'm the Premier, I would not hesitate to do it. I think it needs to be done. We have to prioritize our people first. Increase the costs associated with drivers' personal vehicles. We because of our lack of development over time, we have to recognize that driving is a privilege.
Exactly, not a right.
Not a right.
Mm-hmm.
D, limit the age of vehicle importations. Which one is, from a sustainable perspective, is common sense. We can't keep on allowing people to bring in 25-year-old cars, and within 2 years they break down, they put them on the side of the road, creating more litter and more devaluing of our Cayman Islands and our standards. That thing perturbs me, I must say. I wish I was a police officer. For anybody I found leaving a car on the side of the road in their derelict way, I would arrest you and put you in jail for 10 years. Talking about $500,000 for chickens, that's what we need $500,000 for. Anyway, another question. E, a review of other jurisdictions to see what is missing if we haven't highlighted those things yet. 5, driver education should be a continuous process on our roads, and our regulations continue to grow and improve them. There seems to be a large percentage of drivers who are not efficient. And usually, I hate to say this, but it's by persons who are not Caymanian, who are driving the car for the first time coming to the Cayman Islands, and they get a driver's license really quick, and they don't seem to know what they're doing, who are not efficient in their driving understanding. The public's efficiency on the roads is important to the flow of traffic on the roads and the time that we use it. Stronger traffic enforcement by the police can assist in this problem. Now, I must highlight this part about the police. The traffic unit isn't doing enough, and it falls under the police department, which falls under the governor. I can't control them, and neither can any member of the government can. So I called the Royal Cayman Islands Police Service. I brought it up to the governor the other day, and I'm happy to say myself and the Royal Cayman Islands Police Service Commissioner will be talking later on this week. But if we're going to solve this problem, the police need to step up. That means you've seen over years in administrations where the traffic department continues to decrease as if to say that there's no value. There's a large value in the traffic enforcement, and I expect to see a budget coming from the police department, ensuring that there's more persons involved in it, carrying out the laws, the enforcement of traffic. If they enforce the law, particularly with the buses, the public buses, where they do nothing about, that we could have better flowing on the roads. But that's just me.
And with that, you want to ensure that when those funds are voted for that particular purpose, that they're used for that purpose and not, used for other general purposes.
I agree with you. Very good point. And that somebody has to keep an eye on that. And I guess that would be the Deputy Premier to make sure that the budget they do get is spent in the right way.
What you haven't mentioned on that also is the use of technology. We don't, you don't have to have, as many traffic police out there. If you have those cameras, speed cameras in place that will clock the individual, read the license plate, and you send the ticket out to them.
Well, I must say that that's part of the enforcement arm within the report. So you remember I told you there's 5 points to my analysis. Yeah. I'm responsible for one area, which is the public transport. And that's what the report that I'm getting preliminary answers now as to what I'm going to do with transport unit. But the other 4 areas are a bigger plan that all of us in government need to do. All right, so I'm going to get into that because technology is a major component moving forward, and I'll show you what areas I intend to bring forward within the coming months. Okay. Though I believe that these 5 key areas can greatly assist in the reduction of our traffic woes, the timing and the order of implementation of these strategies is key to its success. As such, I believe that the government must address and start with driver education because it's the closest thing that you can do. That's DVDL, a constant media campaign about the rules, being more strict on those who get licensing to make sure that they know what they're doing. Also, a proper sit down with the Royal Cayman Islands Police Service to help with the enforcement of our road rules. Again, I just repeated that, and the police commissioner knows how I feel about that. 2, the public bus transportation, which solely falls under me. This can start right away but will need to be implemented until the next budget year due to financial constraints. For one, in this budget, the transport unit is too small. We only have like about 8 employees in there, but the expectation for them to carry out a comprehensive national transportation system is not good. Now, I didn't know the full intricate details of the transport unit before I was appointed minister for that. Now I do know, and I'm going to be putting a budget forward to increase that by 3 times the amount, so as well as legislation to give them more empowerment to hold these bus drivers accountable so they can be reliable, so they can be safe, and so they can be accountable. Government must agree that this must move into a single source bus service, whether government run or by PPP. Now, that's my personal opinion. I'm still waiting on the finalization of this report to suggest whether or not that is good or not. But I believe if we truly want to encourage people to take the bus, they have to be comforted to know that they're going to be able to get to work, pick up their loved ones, pick up the kids from school. They have to be able to depend on it on a timely matter. What is happening right now in the report, the preliminary reports is already starting to say that the current bus system is not reliable in that sense. I had an opportunity this weekend to sit down by the transportation bus depot, and I was appalled by what I saw. But I'm not going to go over that. I'll go over that maybe at another show and go into the deeper details of that. But the necessary legislation and regulation can be created in the meantime until a new transportation infrastructure is agreed. And that's what this report is actually saying. Upgrade the current system as is until we're in a financial position to transform the whole thing under one proper umbrella. 3, a national road infrastructure plan. This can start right away also, but it will be an ongoing process as the roads are being developed over time. An investigation as to the bus lane implementation and where bus stops should be properly indicated for buses so they can be built. And this is another reason, I know that people may not like this, but this is why I think the transport unit should be under the Minister, the Honourable J.E. Banks. All the legislation associated with the transport unit falls under traffic law. The traffic law falls under the Minister. Now, we work together all the time, but you know that you have different chief officers. It would be better if one chief officer who carries out the policy of the government through the minister is dealing with all the related matters as one. Now, I keep on saying that. I'm not going to say it again, but I think what it does is all the suggested changes I'm going to be bringing forward, I'm going to say, Minister J, can you bring this to Parliament for me? As opposed to me going down there and arguing this point myself. But I'll leave that to the ears who listen. Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Top of the hour, folks. Headline news. When we return, the conversation with Minister Bryan will continue, so please stay tuned.
Today's biggest news.
Radio Cayman. Your voice, your choice.
Local, regional, international. This is Headlines from Radio Cayman's newsroom.
Today's biggest news.
The Headline News is brought to you by Health Services Authority.
Starting Wednesday, March 1st, confirmation PCR testing for COVID positives will no longer be required, and HSA COVID testing centers will cease operations on all 3 islands. Lateral flow positive online reporting will no longer be required. In international headlines, powerful storms with widespread wind gusts and reported tornadoes swept across Oklahoma and Kansas, leaving more than a dozen people injured, and some Michigan residents facing a fifth straight day today without power following last week's ice storm. In California, the National Weather Service said a series of winter storms will continue moving into the state through Wednesday after residents got a brief break from severe weather on Sunday. About 20 miles south of Oklahoma City, the Norman Police Department responded Sunday night to storm damage on the south and eastern sides of the city. Officials in Norman said there were 12 confirmed weather-related injuries, but none were considered critical. Possible tornadoes and widespread wind gusts up to 90 miles per hour were reported in Oklahoma, with downed trees and power lines, road closures, and damage to homes around Norman and Shawnee. Tens of thousands of people filled Mexico City's vast main plaza Sunday to protest President Andrés Manuel López Obrador's electoral law changes, which they say threaten democracy and could make a return to the past. The plaza is normally thought to hold nearly 100,000 people, but many protesters who couldn't fit in the square spilled onto nearby streets. López Obrador's proposals were passed last week. Once enacted, they would cut salaries, funding for local election offices, and training for citizens who operate and oversee polling stations. They would also reduce sanctions for candidates who fail to report campaign spending. Those are your headlines. I'm April Cummings.
For the latest in news and information,
follow Radio K-Man on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Download the Radio K-Man app or log on to our website, radiokman.gov.ky.
The headline news are brought to you by Health Services Authority.
Health Services Authority is now offering online payment options for patients. Patients of HSA can now pay their bills, including deposits, towards scheduled services online at payments.hsa.ky. The secure, new online payment system accepts debit or credit cards and is in addition to the available payment options of cash, check, and online bank transfer. For quick, easy, and secure payment directly from your phone or computer, visit HSA's new online payment system at payments.hsa.ky.
For the record, with Orrett Connor.
Initiating system.
For information that matters. For the record, with Orrett Connor. Continues right now on Radio K-Man.
Good morning. Welcome back to For the Record. In the studio with me, Honorable Kenneth Bryan, Minister with responsibility for tourism and transport. Minister, back over to you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Jose. Before we went to the break, I was on number 3, which is the national road infrastructure, and I said we should start this right away. It'll be an ongoing process for roads to be developed, an investigation as to the bus lanes implementation and where bus stops should be properly implemented as we build. Also, I said in B that the East-West arterial road needs to start. Obviously, I did this report a year and 4 months ago, so this stuff, the road didn't get started, or the EIA didn't start at the time, so that's why it's still in there. Number 4, the decentralization should also start right away with government policy review. We as the government need to decide what agencies we would like to see move east and what timelines they will. We need to see them in the future. Also decide what private sector initiatives / rebates we will offer. But we still haven't decided that. I guess this goes into the bigger development plan, which I solely leave to the Premier. He said he wants to be in charge of that. I'm still waiting to hear what we're going to do in that respect, because that is a bigger component to the transportation element. If you break down what I've said so far into 5 components, some of them is short term, some of them are long term. And while I'll try to tackle the transportation unit perspective, you still have to reduce in other ways from a comprehensive perspective and a growth perspective of dealing with this problem. You see, for example, last week, you see how nice the traffic was down? Because nobody going to school.
Exactly, yeah.
Now, that's just a 20% reduction in traffic, and we run flow very nicely. If we were to put just 4 major government agencies to the east, we can reduce the traffic by 25%. And that means what we had last week could be what it is all the time. Because there's some people who are on the eastern side of the island don't need to come to town at all. Some of them don't even like coming to town. They can't wait to get back down in the country, as they would call it, right? But we're not prioritizing that, and I think that that's where the pressure will start to build now as we review getting ready for our SPS as to what it will take, because we have to start at some point. These things take time to build. You know how long they were planning the government building? about 4 or 5 years before they put one block on the ground. So I think we need to start this right away. Anyway, on to number 5. The vehicle restrictions on driving and importation can't start until the new public bus system is implemented. Now, I've rethought that because even if you put some restrictions on all the cars right now, you still won't feel any benefit from that until you see some of them come off the road where probably there's no more imports coming in. So if you start today and say, no more cars older than 5 years can come to Cayman, there's already a population of cars here. So it's only until a couple of years when those older ones come off the road where they can't operate anymore do you start to see the reduction in the amount of cars coming in. So that would probably take a 3 to 5 year period before you see the benefits of that. So I've changed my position.
Plus, those persons who are importing will just simply comply with the higher standard that you have set. So if you said, any vehicle older than 5 years will not be allowed in, so people will just ensure that they comply with that.
Well, you see, that's where I think that I'm not sure if I'm in agreement with you there, because those people who would import them for sale will do that. But the people who have access to buying them will reduce, because the reason why they're buying older cars is because they're cheaper. The newer the car, the more expensive it is, and then you take it out of the bracket of the range for the person who can afford it. So, for instance, you have a work permit holder who needs to get to work. The employer expects them to be at work on a proper time, and due to the lack of availability through the public transportation system, they go ahead and spend $3,000 or $4,000 in savings on a Japanese Honda Fit. But if you no longer can bring in a Japanese Honda Fit at $3,000 or $4,000, and the average import for a car now is $10,000 to $12,000, then they're going to say, well, from a cost-benefit analysis, I have to take the transportation system.
Okay.
Right. So I think if we did that, you'll see less people buying cars, and also I do not necessarily believe, unless special circumstances, that it's necessary for certain categories of work permit holders to be able to import cars. But then that I haven't done a full analysis, because I can't expect somebody who can afford a brand new vehicle, who can afford the fees necessary to do so, shouldn't be able to get done. But I think we definitely have to increase the price range. But then you have the flip side to that when they say, well, a Caymanian won't be able to bring in a cheap car. But you expect us to fix the problem, but you want to be able to buy the cheap car. So we gotta decide what we're doing here.
If we can stick with that for a moment, and we keep hearing that we have to have this public transport system in place, or at least some semblance of it, before we can even go into restricting the number of vehicles on the road. But I believe that those persons who are involved in public transport at this point in time will tell you that they have seen a decline in their ridership at this point in time without any public system being, improved upon. And the reason for that decline is because every Tom, Dick, Jane, and Harry can import a car. So those persons who would normally take the bus to go to work, they're no longer doing. You look at any job site now, and you see the vehicles parked either on the public roadways or on private property, where every single person, the bricklayer, the person who's mixing the cement, they're all in vehicles. And I sense from what you've said there that there may be some official acknowledgement of the fact that it is very difficult for us, if not impossible, for us to determine who can and cannot own a vehicle or import a vehicle in the Cayman Islands.
Yes.
And Bermuda was able to do that. What makes Bermuda any different than we are if we were to look at the legislation that they use? The Parliament, as long as it is constitutional, the Parliament can pass any legislation that they want. And if it becomes unconstitutional, then you change the Constitution. But we are speaking about an existential issue in the Cayman Islands, existential to the effect of our flora and fauna, the quality of life in the Cayman Islands all has to do with the vehicle. Now, Caymanians have developed a huge love affair, like the Americans, for automobiles, right? And, if we can't get Caymanians off that, then we cannot continue to encourage those persons who are allowed to come to the Cayman Islands to earn a living, to support their families in other jurisdictions, to put this jurisdiction in peril. And that is what's happening now.
I would agree with you 100%. I want to highlight the fact that you said Bermuda is doing some of these differentiations as to who can import and who can't import.
For years they've done that.
But I also want to recognize, and I think you recognize it yourself too, is that Bermuda has a different constitution than we do. But it's worth investigating under what premise, because they're a Commonwealth country as well, that what provisions are they using under the constitutional rights of a person to stop persons from using it. Now,
but we admitted before that the ownership of a vehicle or being your ability to drive is not a right; it's a privilege.
Yeah, but you can't. I'm going to leave this to Attorney General. And Attorney General, if you're listening, expect a question in Cabinet tomorrow for you to give me a legal determination of that, because it's going to be a major component to the the transportation strategy. Because obviously we can only do things that is legal or whatever our legal team is willing to fight as a challenge if it ever comes up.
We tell people what dogs they're allowed to bring into import into the Cayman Islands and what dogs they can't import.
But there's a difference between telling what kind of dog they can import. We tell people what kind of cars they can import. You don't say which people who can import them.
Yeah,
there's a difference, because what you're talking about is what do you call it again? Discrimination.
Yeah. Well,
right. So
Section 16
only under immigration purposes.
Dr. McPhee will tell you Section 16 of our Constitution
allows us to
carve out. Yes.
Discriminate under immigration elements.
No, not immigration.
Okay, well, let's look it up. Let's look it up together, because I got it here with me. Section 16.
Okay.
Because non-discrimination, it says, subject to Section 3, 4, and 5, and 6, government shall not treat any person in a discriminatory manner in respect to the rights under this part of the Constitution. Section 2 says, in this section, discriminatory means affording different and unjustifiable treatment to different persons on any grounds such as sex, race, color, language, religion, political or opinion, national or social origin, association with national minority, age, mental or physical disability, property, birth, and other status. 3 says, no law or decision of any public office shall contravene this section if it has an objective or reasonable justification and is reasonably proportionate to its aim and interests of defense, public safety, public order, public morality, and public health. Section 4, subsection 1 shall not apply to any laws so far as that the law makes provisions for A, for the appropriation of revenues or other funds for the Cayman Islands, or for the imposition of taxes, including the levies or fees and grants and licenses. B, with respect to the entry or exclusion from or employment engaging in businesses or professions, movement or residence within the Cayman Islands, persons who are not Caymanian. Now that's where the immigration component come up. But I think you might have just found yourself something here. It says, subsection 1, let me read the first part again. Subsection 1 shall not apply to any law so far that the law makes provisions for the appropriation of revenues or other funds of the Cayman Islands for the imposition of taxes, including levies or fees. So you can do it like this. You can say, for Caymanians, the duties to bring in a car is 5%. And for non-Caymanians, you can say the duties are 25%. That's what I take the interpretation.
But there's another section in there that lists a variety of circumstances. What it doesn't say there is your immigration status on the island, that you can't discriminate because of your immigration status on the island. And we do it all the time. We say that you can't hold a trade and business license unless you're Caymanian. You know, otherwise,
I think what I'm going to do is, just in the interest of time, I'm going to ask the Attorney General to give us an interpretation, and then I can come back to the people, because it's obviously something that keeps on popping up, saying that Caymanians should have that privilege of the right to the road, but non-Caymanians shouldn't have to have that right unless they're willing to pay for it.
Yeah, not the right to the road. It's the right to be able to import a vehicle
That's what I mean.
into the Cayman Islands that will have detrimental effect in more ways than one. But we're going to be, we would really be in a pickle if our hands are tied behind us that we can't do anything about the importation of vehicles into these islands for persons who are guest workers here in the Cayman Islands. We have to take that commercial break. Folks, please stay tuned. For the record, we'll be back shortly.
At Doctors Hospital, we know life happens, and usually when you least expect it. So when unexpected medical issues arise, you need quality care close to home. Located in the heart of Georgetown, our accomplished team of physicians and medical staff treat minor urgent conditions such as migraines, chest and abdominal pain, shortness of breath, burns, broken bones, open wounds, and more. 24 hours, 7 days a week with no appointment necessary. Peace of mind is important when life happens. At Doctors Hospital, we're always here just for you. Need to speak to someone? Call 949-6066.
Upgrade your summer travel plans with non-stop flights from Grand Cayman to Panama. Panama airfares are now on sale from just $296 CI round trip. In just 2 hours aboard Cayman Airways, you can be in a land where the Caribbean meets the Pacific, where you'll find modern cities, rainforests, and so much more. Book by March 4th to catch Panama airfares on sale. Other conditions apply. Call 949-2311 or visit CaymanAirways.com to book your Panama getaway today.
Tune in every Monday through Friday at 12 p.m. for Radio Cayman's Midday Newscast. Radio Cayman, the People's Station, your trusted official source for the latest news. The 12 p.m. news is proudly brought to you by Health City Cayman Islands. World-class healthcare within your reach.
For the record, with Orrett Connor.
Initiating system.
For information that matters. For the record, with Orrett Connor. Continues right now on Radio Cayman.
Good morning. Welcome back to For the Record. In the studio with me, Minister Bryan. I believe we have a few callers, but Minister Bryan needs to conclude his presentation first. Minister,
I promise to be quick, and I won't stop. I won't stop until I'm finished.
Okay.
All right. So we finished at the decentralization elements about getting companies to go east. 5 vehicle restrictions on drivers and importation can't start anew to the new public bus service. Public bus system is implemented. We were having that discussion about whether or not we can do that or not. And my conclusions, if this plan of action is agreed to, then we will need to be heavy on the media and marketing plan for these implementations over this term and in the future. There should also be continuous review of the traffic, population, and development in order to make the necessary adjustments as we grow and as the time passes. We should also start by compiling the necessary data. Data is another factor that we don't use enough of because we don't collect enough of it to make these proper answers, to help answer the questions, to assist us in this decision-making process. Should be things like how many people who live and work here, how many people own vehicles, and a lot of that stuff has been collected in this data report that I have now. How many are licensed, how many people have driver's license, how many people are currently taking the public transportation system, how many would be willing to take the public transport if it was reliable and safe and cost effective, how much money does the government receive from vehicles importations per year, because that could be another factor. They might not want to lose the money on that. Sadly, I don't think we should be depending on importation fees, even though it goes to our core budget. What kinds of vehicles do we have? Bikes, cars, cycles, boats, all the different options available to us. Should the speed limits be adjusted for better efficiency? Should we consider other forms of transport like trains over rails and so forth? What is our population strategy? You highlighted that earlier off the record. And there's a difference between a population strategy of the growth of Caymanians and the growth of how many people live here at any one given time, because we can stop allowing persons to get status, but that doesn't stop the population from being the way it is, because the population is the way it is because the workforce that we have and the economy that we have. So the people who are on work permit are still those in traffic as well. Who are the key stakeholders? Which laws and regulations need to be implemented? But this was just a preliminary overview. When I first started, I think I've highlighted enough to trigger some components for discussion. Now, as I was saying before, the transport unit itself is the area of focus under my ministry. I want to dive into that further, but I know the callers are online, so I'll hear from them first. And then if I have to come back on another show, just specifically talk about what I'm going to do with the transport unit, which is the public buses, I'll do so. But I want to hear from some people first.
Okay. One of our listeners said regulating who can own a vehicle is not enough. We also have to reduce the number of driver's licenses that are issued. Many of the cheap Honda Fits that are on the roads are leased vehicles. And they go on to say, don't stop at limiting who can import a vehicle, limit who can drive as well. They go on to say that it can also be done by increasing the cost of a driver's license, for work permit holders.
Reducing the cost or increasing the cost?
Increasing.
I think the biggest way to reduce people from taking their own vehicle is increasing the cost. And the biggest pushback from that over time has been, how do you decrease the cost for everybody else except Caymanians? Because then you're going to have Caymanians and say, listen, it's hard for me too. I don't want to go to your people you represent and say, I'm going to increase the cost of your ability to get to and from work. If you can give them an alternative, like a public, reliable transport system that is cheap and safe, then you can say, okay, you don't have an excuse now. I'm going to increase these fees because that bus will get you to where you need to get to on time, in a safe manner, in a cost-effective way.
And I think one of the other realities is also, like I said before, we have this love affair with the car, with the automobile, is that how many people are going to actually leave their vehicles at home and take public transport, even if it's, available.
That's built up over time. That's why I'm saying this is not going to be an overnight thing. People have to start to build into it.
Okay, we have two callers on hold. Let's grab the first caller. Good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Hello?
Good morning.
Hello?
Good morning.
Good morning.
Yeah, well, I'm calling back.
Sure.
I have to first say that that's a lot of information that came out. And really, it is hard to focus on all of it when it comes all at one time. And we get into issues that can trigger off certain types of reactions that be very, very negative. I think in terms of structuring the output of this information, it is necessary for us to focus not on a total amount of it at one time, but at least at piece by piece, although you have the whole composition of what it is that you feel needs to be impacted. When so many things come in and there are comments, as I have been listening to, it could trigger reactions from people that become very troublesome. The human mind, and especially many people in this country, can only absorb so many challenges at one time.
Agreed.
And I was talking about centricity before I finished the last time. It is very important because it almost seems as if from a group point of view, governmental point of view, political government point of view, that there should have been a development of this particular paper because it is an important paper. It presents very important challenges that need to be solved. And I'm surprised with caucus and all of that sort of stuff that these issues have not been taken up and been dealt with because there are important questions that need to be dealt with. We have to make a decision about who we are and where we're going. And these are all questions that are important in all of that. How we treat work permit holders, for instance, will be very important because without labor, you can't do nothing. So if you offend people and they say, okay, his money is good, but I'm not going there, then you have a problem too. So there is always going to be a reaction for any action, regardless of how good it is or might seem. But from the point of coming back to that particular development that you, Mr. Bryan, made, that's a good start, a really good start. I am just amazed that others have not fed into it and tried to assist in the development of this paper, because it has all the points. It has merit. I'm going to be as objective as I can and say this regardless of how I feel about the government and things. It's a good beginning, and it should have been taken seriously and developed. That all the points are in there for all the ministries. And I just don't know again, how is it that transport should be on Mr. J's portfolio, and after all this time that's not already clarified, and it has happened. Because what this really brings out to me is that what's the government doing? What's the government doing if you have already put a position paper that needs to be addressed by the government, by caucus, communicated to the people to see if at least you can get them on board with these important issues or challenges and how they might be solved. This is what government's supposed to be. This is what we need done. It's not going to be that every voter is going to say, as soon as you say something, yeah, but maybe with a little bit of education, educating them on the issue, they might see the point. And this is what government is all about, to be able to persuade the people of what is necessary and reasonable and how it can be accomplished. So back to the port and back to the whole idea of the think tank, because that's like an idea that comes that they need a think tank to get together to be able to help the government to develop this paper. You do not need, at this particular point, experts. You need people who are going to be affected by the policies of the government, and that will put you in the position to be able to then use the experts after you have had a way of consulting the people and getting what you feel will be their fair reaction, which is necessary for you as a politician and also necessary as a policy maker. I think that's a wise decision. I got to stop at this point because it's really a lot, and the social factors and the social reactions are necessary also to correlate and take into account, because the country is really very mixed in many different ways. You have many nationalities here. You have many different economic groups. You have many different educational levels. You have many different professional levels. You have many different types of reactions that you get, that although people can't vote, they influence. And that's exactly what we have to be looking at. So I'm going to leave it at that, but I'm going to say that I think that paper needs to be taken serious. It's not all what I believe it should be, but it can be something that begins a very important forum of discussions that needs to take place in this country. The people who are for the environment, I bless them. My son is a great believer. Joshua's a great believer in it. He understands these things. I'm not going to necessarily say that I told his line, but people need to be open-minded enough, rather than criticizing people and alienating people, to come together and try to solve this issue, because that highway is important and that dock is important, and there are many different kinds of position on it, and it needs to just be aired. Your position needs to be aired. Take the risk and air it.
Thank you very much, Doc. Thank you very much for that. Folks, we have to take a commercial break. Please stay tuned for the record. We'll be back shortly.
Since March 2004, West Bay Pharmacy has kept their doors open to the local communities, even before, during, and after Hurricane Ivan. At West Bay Pharmacy, our staff provides so much more than pharmaceutical excellence. From the moment you walk through our doors to completing your cash out, our staff will have put your healthcare concerns at ease. We would like to take this moment to thank our loyal friends and customers. To us at West Bay Pharmacy, our patients are our primary concern. We provide thorough background checks and precise calculations to ensure your medical safety. Thank you for being a part of our family and for choosing West Bay Pharmacy, where we care about your health.
Upgrade your summer travel plans with non-stop flights from Grand Cayman to Panama. Panama airfares are now on sale from just $296 CI round trip. In less than 2 hours aboard Cayman Airways, you can be in a land where the Caribbean meets the Pacific, where you'll find modern cities, rainforests, and so much more. Book by March 4th to catch Panama airfares on sale. Other conditions apply. Call 949-2311, contact your travel agent, or visit CaymanAirways.com to book your Panama getaway today. Also, Water Authority Cayman would like to advise customers in the Cayman Kai area of planned works. The works will take place today, the 27th of February, Tuesday, the 28th of February, and Wednesday, 1st of March, to repair a leak in the area. To facilitate the work, customers on the following roads may experience intermittent service between 8 p.m. Monday until 4 a.m. Tuesday and 8 p.m. Tuesday until 4 a.m. Wednesday. Water Key Road, Camp Drive, and Kaibo Crescent. The Water Authority apologizes for any inconvenience these works may cause and thanks you, the public, for your patience and understanding.
What's that? No sugar, same amazing taste? Coca-Cola Zero Sugar is here to stay. Classic taste, pure satisfaction. Be sure to stop into any Tortuga location and get your own case of Coke Zero. Or grab an ice-cold one straight from the cooler. Brought to you by Tortuga Distributors Limited. Coca-Cola, taste the feeling, Cayman.
Did you know advertising will be required before submitting a temporary work permit application that exceeds 30 days? Effective 31 March 2023, employers with part-time or full-time available positions will need to advertise on the Jobs Cayman portal. To learn more about the new regulations or for assistance in using the Jobs Cayman portal, visit work.ky. That's WORC.ky. Work.ky. Or call customer care 945-9672, 945-9672 today.
For the record, with Orrett Connor.
Initiating system.
For information that matters. For the record, with Orrett Connor. Continues right now on Radio Cayman.
Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. We still have 3 callers on hold. So we're going to ask each caller to try to please be as brief as possible. Also, one of our listeners has written and said, Minister, can the minister say why the report on national transportation only looks at buses rather than taking a more holistic approach that could have, for example, included transport by boat, etc.? Buses may not be the only or even the best solution, but other solutions will seemingly not be looked at. So
I'll quickly answer that by saying this report that I requested from my ministry was on the public transportation system, because that's the area of responsibility that I have. Mm-hmm. There hasn't been a holistic report on traffic altogether, because
but what this person is saying, that you could have public transport by boat as well.
Yes, I mean, but that is in the report.
Okay.
So when the report is released, you can have a look at it. But quickly to answer Dr. McField's point, Dr. Frank McField, that he's right about timelines, because this is a lot of information to digest. And in my initial report I did by myself, it broke it down into short term, medium term, and long term. So there wouldn't have been everything all at once. Let's take the callers.
Got you. First caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Hey, good morning, O.G.
Morning. How are you doing?
Good morning, Minister Bryan.
Good morning, sir.
I was, as I've been listening to much of the debate regarding the continuation of the East-West Arterial Road, I read an article on one of the media outfits there that some firm did say that the continuation of that road would do nothing to ease the traffic situation. Well, that person must have fallen in the head when they were young, because there is no one going to tell me that more roads is not going to alleviate traffic to the greater extent. But that is one of the things that somebody is putting in there, because that person who wrote that report probably lives on 7 Mile Beach and don't have to traverse in the traffic. So the other thing is that as it relates to public transport, I am a Caymanian as Caymanian can be. And to be very honest with you, I wouldn't take one of those public transport buses for nothing in this world for the way I see them driving, because I value my life. Look at who's driving these public buses. Tell me which Caymanian you see driving it. If you can identify one indigenous Caymanian driving those buses, then I'll give you all the kudos in the world, because I surely can't see none who's driving it, right? What's happening is the Caymanians or whoever it is going buying these buses, and then they're getting other nationalities to drive, and predominantly the Jamaican nationalities who doesn't give a hoot about how they drive, because they're bringing that same Jamaican style driving from Jamaica to Cayman. And I don't care who it irritates this morning. I'm just telling you the truth. I'm just going to shoot it from the hip, okay? And then the other situation is that with the traffic situation here, I know foreign nationals, okay, who are bringing in vehicles. They are here on work permits. They are bringing in vehicles, and they're selling them. I know one guy that has brought in about 8 cars on work permit and selling them. But yet, no, I got a business. I have a business, and I have to pay for a trade and business license. How is this fair to me as a Caymanian? There's no fairness there. They're allowed to conduct business without a trade and business license. You here in my island on a work permit, and you're gonna be making money off of importing cars and selling them. So what happened then with Vamp Mullers and all the rest of those people? They got paid trade and business license, they got paid insurance, they got paid pension. These guys are doing nothing. And it's time that something is done to curtail this. That's just my contribution this morning. Thank you.
Thank you very much, caller. I want to agree with the caller quickly before we take the other ones. The person who said that the East-West Arterial will not help traffic, I disagree with that wholeheartedly. And I also agree with your position about the types of drivers we have on the buses. And the system of public transport that we have, which is one of competition, is what causes unsafe driving. I have a large Jamaican contingent of voters and supporters, and I tremendously respect them very much. But we have to admit there's a cultural behavior that comes along with the type of driving in Jamaica that we have transferred here. And it's not only Jamaica, because we have other people who drive the bus who are not Jamaican as well, right? But the bottom line is there's a negative culture of transport, of how we carry people, that has been transferred into our society, and I am not happy with. I've expressed it to all the bus drivers, and I will be taking it head on. And if that's the one that's going to cause me a problem politically, so be it. But that's the basis upon which I decided to say we should go into the direction of taking over the bus system altogether, because once you have individual ownerships, right, you cannot stop the type of driver that you will have, and this individual profit way of things. The only way you're going to stop people from driving recklessly is if you say, listen, regardless of how many bus drivers you pick up, you get a salary. So they can say, listen, my job is to go from point A to point B to point C and back and forth so many times a day, and I'm going to get to see my money. Otherwise, they're going to continue to drive reckless as they do. So that's my sentiment. I'm waiting for the report to agree to that, and then I will implement it with the support of my government. If they don't support it, I've done my part.
Now, that part about the opinion that was raised in relation to the roads, extending the roads, not being, not solving the problem. I think what the person also included in that, what they were trying to point out was that if the bottleneck that is at the Hurley's Grand Harbor, and what they failed to recognize or to realize is what the minister has said that is being done in the Hurley's Grand Harbor area, including allowing those residents within the Grand Harbor area to not have to get on that roundabout to head west into town, but to be able, between King's Sports Center and the Lions Center, that roadway will be open. There. So that's what that person.
But that's a small component. I know we have a caller. The other component is if you implement the decentralization of all work in town and you put it above or to the east of the bottleneck, then you won't have as much of a problem.
Exactly. So. Let's grab the next caller. Caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Mr. Connor, good morning, Mr. Bryan.
Good morning, good morning.
I just got two quick contributions because I know you got other callers and you pressed the time. What I will say and what I would just like to express is that, one, to the caller before me just now, the person that wrote that report didn't even set foot in Cayman. That was a person out of the UK that wrote that report. So he was absolutely right. They'd never been here, so they wouldn't know the lay of the land and understand the issues with traffic.
Which report is that one?
The one that was done by the Sustainable Cayman. I went to the first NRA meeting in Northside, and that was the opinion that was published on most media, on most platforms, saying that it wouldn't ease traffic based on that report.
Gotcha.
But it wasn't a report done by anybody locally. It was overseas.
Okay.
Second thing I would like to say, Kenneth, is that I listened to you earlier, and here's what I would like to express. First thing, I don't believe that we should be entertaining any conversation that will further saddle Caymanian people with the burden of lack of proper infrastructural development and upgrades over the past couple of decades that had nothing to do with you, because we know we had a lot of plans in ground transportation from way back in the 80s, 70s that was never ever really heavily looked at or implemented. So you're left whole in the bag trying to fix this problem. But there was something I heard you said earlier I just want to address, and there's no criticism. It's just basically that we shouldn't be entertaining any option that will saddle Caymanian people with any extra expense for importation of cars or licensing fees or anything, just to create a deterrent. If we're trying to deter a certain issue in this country, I believe that in other countries where you have very strong policies, such as Bermuda, where if you're not even from Bermuda, you can't own a car, right? I'm not suggesting that's what we should do. I'm just saying is that if we're going to have a holistic approach to this, we have to make sure that we take in consideration the sustainability of the Caymanian people first, because it's our island. We got to stay here and pick up the pieces, because we all remember Ivan, right? When everybody ran away. Now, I would just like to say this. Under no circumstances should we be entertaining the idea of putting in something that is gonna further burden Caymanian people with the debt, only because we didn't properly put things in place in the past. I agree with the East-West Arterial Road. I agree with that we need to do something about the port. We all know that the port needs to come out of Georgetown, but nobody wants to have that conversation, right? But at the end of the day, Kenneth, my humble opinion to you, is my friend, is to not encapsulate the Caymanian public with whatever plan in terms of cost, because if we say we're putting a proper bus system in place and then we're going to increase licensing fees or import fees for everybody, then that means the Caymanian people who should have the right to own a car in their country where they live. So,
well, I would agree with you there, and this is where the legal opinion needs. I need the support from the legal drafters, which is the AG's office, because I can't see how we can't protect our people, and this may boil down to the fighting point. And I hope to have some information back from the AG's office as to what we can do, because I agree with you. I have no intention of increasing any costs on our people. We have enough costs as it is. So, but we have to find out a way to deter non-Caymanians from using up our roads so heavily, while at the same time offering them reliable, safe traffic public system, or pay a premium to have a license. That's how I see it.
And at the last point, and I'm hanging up now, I heard Dr. Frank refer to that we have to be careful how we implement things that will affect the desirability of Cayman to foreign workers, because we need workers. Yes, we need labor force. But one thing we need to make very, very clear, that this is our system. And if you don't want to work in this system, then there are a plethora of other places that may suit where you want. You will always find people to fill those jobs, regardless of the situation. We just need to understand that it mightn't be popular, it mightn't be wanted, but they just need to get used to it.
You
Correct.
guys have a good morning.
Thank you so much, caller, for that.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much, caller. We're going to take a last commercial break. Still one caller on hold, Miss Susan. We will take that final caller when we return, so please stay tuned. For the record, we'll be back shortly.
There you go, sir. Thanks for choosing JN Money Transfer.
Boy, thanks to JN Money Transfer, I can stay right here in Cayman and pay mama bills back home in Jamaica. Her water, light, phone and other bills never late. Every month I pay everything in one place.
Make payments to over 30 companies in Jamaica through JN Money Transfer. Fast, affordable, convenient. Call 1-800-744-1163 for details.
So much happening, so fast, too much. It is hard for me to follow my healthcare instructions. The private counseling with West Bay Pharmacy literally saved my life.
At West Bay Pharmacy, we know how complex medications can be. Our pharmacists are delighted to offer you personalized one-on-one healthcare counseling, free medication review, therapeutic callbacks, and we will liaise with your physician to ensure you receive the best in quality medical care.
Quality of life has a whole new meaning with the right pharmacy to support you. Thank you, West Bay Pharmacy.
West Bay Pharmacy in Centennial Towers. Convenient quality care is just around the corner. Now you can WhatsApp your West Bay Pharmacy prescriptions to 516-0777.
Start your day in the know. Don't miss a beat. Radio Cayman's 7 a.m. news keeps you informed every Monday through Saturday at 7 a.m. Proudly brought to you by Walkers, a reputation for excellence. Learn more about the Walkers Scholarship and Legal Training Program at walkersglobal.com.
For the record, with Orrett Connor.
Initiating system.
For information that matters. For the record, with Orrett Connor. Continues right now on Radio Cayman.
Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. Let's grab the next caller. Caller, good morning. Welcome.
Yes, good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I would like to say that to Mr. Bryan, when he considering any amendments to the traffic law, that he would give some serious consideration to putting the age limit for youngsters to get their license to their learner's license to age 16, but they cannot take a driver's test until their 17th birthday, because people at the present time, people are getting their driver's license on their 17th birthday, and probably a month later or 6 weeks later, they are licensed drivers on the road, and you just cannot learn to drive in that short space of time. So, my suggestion is that they would get their driver's license their learner's license at age 16. But they do not go for a driver's test until they're 17 or older. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, caller.
Thank you very much, caller. Next caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record. Good morning, caller. Welcome to For... No, okay. No more calls?
Well, while we wait on that call, I do understand that former elected member Arden McLean was trying to call in, and I would encourage him to call back because I trust a lot of his judgment, particularly with this East-West matter. One thing that came up, and I just got a message from somebody, and I won't call any names, but they made a very good point, which is much of this concern about the East-West arterial and the wetlands, and the person encapsulated that basically the central mangrove wetland is a red herring to push and stop the road. The central mangroves wetland can be purchased by compulsory acquisitions using funds from the EPF so that it can be protected. The road can go through and taking considerations for environmental concerns. A good example of this, and listen to this one, a good example of this is the Everglades in Florida, where a large protected road, a large area that was protected, a road went straight through it, but you just see the road for miles and miles and miles. You can't see anything until you get on the other side of the protected area. So that's a very strong point. So, but more importantly, we can find a balance here.
Yeah.
And I just don't want people, you see, I don't like when people use good things and push people into a corner and force them to push back, because we're not going to have a good thing. Because if you are genuinely interested in the environment, focus on how we can solve and mitigate the road so to protect those environments rather than trying to stop it.
It can't be one-dimensional, yes.
You know what I mean? So do we have the caller?
Yes, we do. Caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Mr. McLean.
How are you, Minister?
Not too bad, sir. Good to hear from you.
Yeah, nice hearing you on there trying to explain all these things. I got a lot of comments, but let me first say that previous caller about 16, I tried doing that when I was there, and I got railroaded with that because I thought the same thing he's currently thinking, that if you give the teenagers 1 year to learn to drive on the road, then they would have better practice and habits and whatnot. But anyway, you will deal with that, I am sure. I have not been listening to everything, but I'm getting the gist of it about the East-West Arterial report. I would like to comment somewhat on the East-West Arterial. And here's where I want to start. I said that at the second NRA meeting, that once Cabinet approves a corridor, a road corridor, it is a done deal. I think Mac Steele went on radio then and said, no, it can be de-gazetted. I don't know. And I want to make it clear to the people of this country, I've never heard of that word, of it being de-gazetted. I know how it is gazetted. It is very clear. The laws in our country is very clear, and anyone can double-check this. Roads in this country falls under the NRA, the Roads Act, and the Development and Planning Law. They all share in that. Now, and then there is another part of our democracy that plays a part in the building of roads and the establishment of corridors, which is eminent domain.
Mm-hmm. Caller, I want to just remind you, we're only going to have about 5 minutes left, so I want you to cover as much as you possibly can.
Okay. Now, I don't know where Steve got that from, that you can de-gazette it. We know how it go up. The NRA is tasked with maintaining, making plans, building, and making recommendations to Cabinet. Cabinet is the only authority can establish a corridor. And the reason being, a corridor is for future bills, and that goes through private land. And only Cabinet, only the state, has eminent domain. Now, there is no provision to reverse that corridor. Not that I agree with that. There should be some provision, because you shouldn't stay there indefinitely. But even the courts in this country has ruled that there is no way to reverse it. You can change the alignment of that road, but there's no way to reverse it. Maybe Cabinet needs to look at that. But Steve needs to explain to the country how you de-gazette it. Now, secondly, I want to know why, and people need to come out on their own. They need to come out. I noticed at the second meeting, there was this little group of young children out of school. I think it's CIS or one of those. They have established a Save Our Future, I think it is. Now, you see what is happening in this country? Parents are pushing their children out front because they don't want to come out and be counted. they prefer to remain anonymous and go on CNS and make all accusations about people when they speak. Well, I have the same right to speak on what I know and what this country represents, that the same right as they do. They, in the meantime, those kids go back and live in their homes where their parents built on pumped up land. That land is pumped up. No, it is, and they're talking about protecting the future. Let me explain to you, Minister, all my life I've protected the future of this country, and so have you and OC and all of the Caymanians. So you can't come here and tell me what I have to do to protect my country. We have always tried to come up with a balance, and that road needs to be built, and I do not want to see everything destroyed. None of us wants to see things destroyed, but it must be built in the interest of the people of this country.
Mm-hmm.
And all those who talk about it will not alleviate traffic, they do not know what they're talking about. Why don't they come and live on the eastern end of the country, of the Grand Cayman, and see what it takes to get into Georgetown to eke out a living? That's what they need to do. They stay in town, and within 5 minutes, they can get their kids to school and they go to work. And they have no concern about the eastern end. What they need to do is to come up here and see how we, the people of this country, have preserved the future of the environment in the eastern districts. We farm it and we protect it. But nobody knows that. They never come in the land in the eastern north side in Baldwin Town. They drive through and they form their opinion of that. And lastly, that ardent consultant report, that Sustainable Cayman Commission, it appears, they were instructed because they want to stop the road on what to see. That's how that went.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Now, what I believe that deserves is what Nancy Pelosi did with Trump's State of the Union address. Tear it up and throw it in the garbage can.
Thank you very much, caller. Thank you very much, caller, for that. Ms. Susan, we're going to try to squeeze that other caller in, but they're going to have about 30 seconds. But we're going to accommodate the other caller that was there. He's gone. Okay. Minister, that caller's gone.
Yeah,
a lot to wrap up on. Sounds like you need to be back in this afternoon.
I'm happy to come back because these discussions are not going to go away.
Yes,
but I want to thank the former minister and former elected opposition leader for calling in. I appreciate his input. I was away for my CTO chairmanship duties when the public meeting happened because I wanted to be there. Mm-hmm. But he posed a very particular question, which was, the government needs to say if this road is in question. And I want to make sure it's clear that the road is not in question. This road is going to happen. How it happens is another question. Now, unless my government decides to say that they are going to consider not doing the road at all, which forces me to consider my position with this administration, I'm telling you, I am of the view that this road is going to happen. Now, we can find a balance as to protecting the wetlands. The wetlands has its place, and we have to protect. And when I say the future, we're constantly protecting the future, but protecting our environment. We are a government of sustainability and transparency, but we cannot, because it seems one-sided. I must agree, it seems one-sided, where there's a concerted effort to undermine the development of this road. I've seen a video that went out recently, and at the end of it, I was like, okay, this is good information about the environment and so forth. Mm-hmm. And at the end of the video, the poor young lady who did it, I don't know who's advising them and pushing them, said, and they only want to do this road to open up lands for certain developers. I found that to be an insult to the government, because you're saying to me that I'm trying to put a road through just so I can open up the land for certain people. I'm trying to resolve the traffic issues. decentralize the way we are developing our country, because we can't do that without a proper main arterial. People have forgotten the fact that what happened in Ivan when you couldn't get from one side of the island to the other. Just recently, those who live in town and on the West Bay Road, our West Bay side of the island, remember how it felt when you were trying to go to agriculture show and how difficult it was to get over there. That's what the people from the eastern districts have to deal with every single day, Monday to Friday. And we have to, if we had that east-west arterial built even past Woodland Drive, you wouldn't have had all the traffic that you had going to the agriculture show just recently. Anyway, that being said, I want to thank everybody for calling in and contributing. This discussion is not going away, and we have to find the solutions. The solutions are there. I'll be pressuring my administration that I'm proudly a part of, that I'm going to say, listen, we need to come out with a solidified plan, short term, medium term, and long term. Because though I believe that there's other areas of responsibility that don't fall under me, I'm a part of a government. Together, we're going to all fall down on this, so we need to come up with answers, and I intend to do that. I'll be happy to come on the show again to go into the finer details of the transport unit, and I'm going to be bringing the transport unit director to come on the show with myself and my chief officer as soon as I possibly can to talk about what we're going to do about the transport, particularly about the public buses and how they operate in the near future. Thank you so much, O.C.
I'm going to dispense with my closing comments, but I'm going to have a little editorial. First of all, to say we live on an island that is 22 miles long by about 5 miles wide at its widest point. I don't have the figures in terms of how many miles of road that we have in the Cayman Islands, but my point is, if we are going to sacrifice the quality of life in the Cayman Islands for fear of upsetting others who we have given the privilege to come and work, and some even to obtain citizenship, or what we are colloquially known as Caymanian status here in the Cayman Islands, then we are in trouble. And like I said before, Parliament makes laws. You can make laws to address this problem. While our Bill of Rights confers certain rights, those rights are limited to a certain extent, and I believe that we have a strong argument when it comes to protecting our heritage, protecting our environment, that we do not have to extend some of the privileges, and I call them privileges, not rights, to persons who are guest workers in the Cayman Islands. Folks, with that, I just urge you to join Sterling Dwayne Banks at 12:15 for talk today, and as usual, we ask the good Lord to bless these three beautiful, wonderful Cayman Islands.
For the record, proudly brought to you by
Coca-Cola. Available across the Cayman Islands from Tortuga Distributors. Accept no substitutes. Taste the feeling with Coca-Cola. Brand Source Home Gallery. Inspiring luxury. West Bay Pharmacy. Taking care of your health. And JN Money. From abroad to yard. Fast, affordable, convenient. Doctor's Hospital. Peace of mind is important when life happens. Doctor's Hospital. Always there for you. Call 949-6066.
You are listening to Radio Cayman, the voice of the